from 0 to $64,000 a month in 3 months with my agency. And in this video, I'm breaking down exactly how I did it so you can too. So cutting through on bullshit, let's take a look here at my Stripe account. As you can see here, went from zero, $1 test payment in January. February, we did just under 32K. In March, we did just under 39K. And then in April, we did $64,454. Now, I actually have another video where we documented my exact strategy on how we booked appointments using Facebook ads, and I'll link that at the end so you can watch it. But in today's video, I wanted to walk you through my exact sales process so you can take some key takeaways here and implement them into your sales process. So again, jumping back into my screen, we'll look here at my table of contents for our sales script, and I'll walk you through each point step by step. So let's go. Obviously, right before you start the call, start that Loom recording. That way you can record your stuff, rewatch your videos, and then over time build out sales training to hire new staff. So that is super important. Make sure you start that Loom recording. Right off the bat, when we jump into the call, you're going to say, hey, I'd like to let them know that I'm opening up some notes. While I open up some notes, I always ask, where are you calling from? You're then going to have some back and forth banter, very small about where they are. Keep things light. And once your notes are open, you will then say, all right, cool, Mr. Prospect, I have my notes open, so if it's okay with you, we can just jump straight into the outline of the call here today. Make the most out of your time. You are then going to set the frame, and I like to say the following. Awesome. Now, before we jump into the call, I always like to give you guys an outline so you can get some clear expectations on what to expect here today. So honestly, my goal with this call is not to jump on here and try to do some sales bullshit or slam something down your throat. I personally don't think that works, and that's honestly not my goal. We have many different offers and services that we can provide. So again, I want to figure out more about your business, identify some KPIs, identify some bottlenecks, and see if there's anything that we can actually help you specifically within your company. If I then think there's something, I'll go ahead, I'll explain how that works, how it costs, and then at the end of the call, you can simply let me know, yeah, Matt, I think that makes sense, let's move forward, or no, sounds terrible, don't want nothing to do with it. You okay with that? So after you build some rapport and set clear intentions, you are then going to dive into the qualification and the clarification stage, where you want to get to understand more about their business. Here you're going to figure out things like revenue, leads, appointments booked, any sort of KPIs, really dissect their entire company and see if they're qualified enough to work with you, and also figure out where their pain points are so that you can help alleviate those pain points. You are then going to label them with a problem. Typically, it's going to be something like not enough leads coming in, no real systems to help them book appointments on demand, or no real marketing experience to help them increase their return on ad spend. Whatever niche you're in, again, you're going to label them with a specific problem. You are then going to jump into and overview any past pains and then overview the call. Now, overviewing past pains means, are they working with any other agencies? Have they worked with any other agencies? What is their experience with paid ads in the past? A lot of people have worked with very shitty marketing companies in the past, so that might also get attributed to you, meaning they're going to think you suck just because you do the exact same thing that they think they've done before. So again, here your goal is to break down these objectives, explain why you're different. That way you can deal with this now and not at the end of the call. That way you can have an objectionless close. You are then going to go overview the call. This is just a psychology principle to help people get more trust and like you more. Overview everything that they've said, make sure you've been attentive, and then ask them, is there anything else that I'm missing? In that overview, I always like to dig a little bit deeper. I'll say something along the lines of, honestly, it sounds like you're not able to generate the leads that you want for your company and the appointments that you want, meaning that you're missing out on about $500,000 per year in revenue. Does that sound about right? Have I missed anything? So again, you're using what they've told you in the past. You're then digging that and digging it in deeper to make them aware that their failure to capitalize on their business has an opportunity cost and they need to fix this now. After that, you are then going to acknowledge the fit and set the frame, where you're simply just going to say something along the lines of, awesome, yeah, I think we would be a perfect fit. We've worked with XYZ. We have XYZ experience. We've done XYZ. If you have any testimonials, you can show them here real quick on a quick screen share. And then you're going to set the frame that'll walk you through it. And then at the end, you can simply let me know if this makes sense for you or if it doesn't. Does that sound good? Once they've verbally agreed that, yeah, that sounds good, you can then move into the pitch where you're going to sell the vacation and not the process. This is something I've taken from Alex Hormozi in terms of the overall concept of selling heavy on the vacation and being more focused on the dream outcome rather than the nitty gritty processes that no one really gives a shit about anyways. And the way I like to do that is something called feature benefit tie down. So what I do is I take my entire offer, I break it down into a few different chunks, and then I walk them through each point step by step. The first one, if we broke it down, we would have the feature, which is we run Facebook and Instagram ads. The benefit would be we're able to get you in front of a hyper-targeted audience, pre-qualify the leads, take those leads, automatically send them into a CRM so that you're not manually inputting any data, and then ultimately allowing us to generate as many leads as we want every single month. Again, selling more benefit heavy here. You're then going to go into a tie down where, does that make sense for you? Is that something that would make sense for your company? Or another type of tie down would be, so what do you think about our strategy here? Once they give you the verbal tie down, they then are inviting you to explain the next step of the process. And then again, we do this verbally throughout the entire pitch. Me personally, I'm not a fan of slideshows. I know many people are, but what I found is that once you pop out a slideshow, you've had such a great conversation back and forth, and then people feel like they're put in the back seat, you're taking control, you're speaking at them, and then it just becomes a sales pitch rather than a fluid conversation. Now, it's also to keep in mind though, some people are visual learners, so if they are visual, make sure you have an assets folder where you can quickly open up a link to show them some visuals, explain anything on that key feature and benefit before moving on to the next. So this is where you as a salesperson are going to have to be fluid, understand the prospect, and see that if they're more of a visual learner, then specifically on that feature, have some assets that you can quickly pull up, share your screen, and then again, show it to them so that they get a complete understanding. After we walk them through the entire process, I always like to say, so do you have any questions? Are you clear on this? Or is there anything specifically you want me to dive into? They'll then start to ask any questions. Again, it's better to address these questions here now before you mention the price. That way, again, if there's any objections or anything they don't understand, you can then deal with it now before moving into the price. Again, after the price, the idea is that you have an objection list closed. That would be the perfect case scenario. The whole goal, again, with this entire call is to pick key information and break down every objection throughout the pitch and throughout the entire sales process. That way, at the end, you literally have no objections and you can move into taking the payment as seamless as possible. Now, when it comes to explaining your price, I always like to have a pay in full discount or a 3-month package. That way you can ask them what makes sense for you. Would you rather pay in full and save X amount of money, or just do the 3 payments of whatever you charge? It's a much more professional and smooth way into the actual cost and pitch. And then again, if they do have any sort of objections, you're going to explain away the concerns here. Again, it's not a big deal if they have any questions or if there's any sort of hesitancy. And chances are that you're probably going to sticker shock a lot of people and they're going to say, I want to think about it, send me an email so I can digest it and I'll get back to you. If you do get that, which is what we got a lot, and then in this month, we really started to nail down this objection, here is the key takeaway that I can give to you for this specific objection. Ultimately, when they say that, you're going to say, yeah, not a problem. I completely understand. You want to think about it. Not a problem. We hear that a lot. Now, specifically, just so I can get a better understanding, what is it that you want to think about? You can then call it out and say, listen, I have no problems if it's something that you don't want to do. Again, I understand that it is a big ticket here. So again, just so I can understand, is something that you literally can't afford, or are you able to afford it and maybe you're just sticker shock? Because again, I hear this a lot, so it's not a problem. If they say that they can afford it, then you're going to jump and ask, cool, so on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being this is the worst thing I've ever heard in my entire life, and 10 being this is fantastic, let's do it. Where do you sit? Again, just so I can get a clear understanding. Maybe I didn't explain it properly. Maybe there's something that you don't quite understand. And again, that would be my fault, so I apologize. You are then going to get them to verbally agree that this is maybe a 7, an 8, a 9. You can then ask them, what are we going to do to get you from a 7 to a 10? Again, allowing you to bridge that gap. But ultimately, you are going to want to continue to push this conversation forward. You are not going to take that objection at face value because they are full of shit. They are not going to think about it. It is just a polite way to tell you no without hurting your feelings. So the end of this call, the ultimate goal is to really walk them through a yes or a no. So now that you have my exact sales process and how we were able to sell and do $64,000 in our 3rd month of running an agency, make sure to click the video right there where I walk you through exactly how we generated 68 sales appointments in our 1st month of running an agency.